one thing that I really want to talk to you about, because I sent you the link to the podcast I did with Stephanie Flesher, where we talked all about, drug use in sports. And I was really happy to get that done. And first of all, kudos to her for being so upfront and honest with me,
My
because
gosh, she was amazing. I really enjoyed that.
I never, for my opinion, even if I have guests that I probably more than likely know that they're doing so, I never bring it up because it's none of my business. It's the guest problem. It's the guest thing. If they bring it up, then I'll talk to them about it. But when it comes to you being natural, how hard was it for you to stay natural in this sport? Because I know like all the temptations that a lot of competitors have, and especially when you're competing at these IFBB shows that you've done a few times. I mean, a lot of them are not natural. So how hard was that for you mentally, just realizing, like, hey, I want to stay natural and I want to, not do anything that might jeopardize my health in the long term?
So here's the thing with, obviously when I would have anybody who is first starting off doing any kind of bodybuilding, you want to see where your body takes you. You want to see what you can do on your own. So for at least that first year, that second year, see what you can do. There are all sorts of people out there that will tell you, oh, if I could just give you a little bit of this or take a little bit of that or do a little bit of the other. And yes, the temptations are huge. For me personally, just because I was a sickly child, I had celiac disease and I can eat anything I want to now. I've had a lot of issues over time. And for me, the challenge has been how to overcome them and see what my body can do on its own. So while, yes, in later years, as I got into competing more and more, and I did the NPC, I was second at Masters Nationals one year in 2016. So I almost got my IFBB Pro card, but didn't because it was only the first at the time. So I haven't competed in IFBB, but I am a pro in the INBA, which is the International Natural Bodybuilding Association and Pro Natural Bodies Building Association. So there we're drug tested and it is very strict. It is WADA testing, so it's just like the Olympics. And there are times when even somebody taking a pre-workout or a protein that might have been put through a different kind of processing and have certain elements may show up or may test. And one thing I don't want to do is be on the wall of shame. I'd rather be on the hall of fame, not on the wall of shame there. But having said that, for me, yes, I've been asked many times, "Oh my goodness, your I have pretty good genetics, I guess." And they've said, "If we could just give you." Well, I've been doing it for 10 years. I am 55 years old. My audience, I like to show people what is absolutely possible, regardless of what your age is and what you can do on your own. So now it's gone far beyond just me. For me to take something then would deny all that I have talked about and been preaching just for myself and trying to get others who might be in their 50s or 60s or 70s and prove to them what they can do. Having said that, I don't care what you're taking, you've got to put the work in the gym. And that's what, and I really, really, I think your guest was absolutely amazing. She was so forthright. She was so, and I truly believe that too. I mean, 90% of the people that I train with or that I know are taking certain enhancing substances. And I respect them so much. And I respect what they are doing depending on what their goal is. And as long as you know what the consequences can be, and if you're okay with that, well, then more power to you.
But that's why I always say everyone look into the consequences first, especially for women, because we have heard some stories on here behind the scenes that I haven't put online because they've been told me not to, of, like, hey, I wasn't aware of the side effects before I started, and then, years down the line. So everyone, do your research. That's the best thing that I can say about anything. And just like Monica said, you still have to put in the work. I mean, there's no magic pill yet. I mean, I'm still hoping for that pill where you can take it and you don't even have to work out, and then, you put on, 50 pounds of muscle overnight. But until that gets invented, that's just unfortunately, you do have to put in the work, and it's just all about that mindset as well. But I appreciate you for, being so upfront about that, because so many people, yeah, I mean, when they talk about being natural or unnatural, I mean, it's a taboo thing, but I don't think it really should be, because a lot of people do realize that, the vast majority of people aren't. But, and there are quote unquote healthy ways to do it, I guess, or not, but you know what I mean, where it's healthier. But
Well, what's tough, Ryan, is because there are a lot of magazines that people go out and they see these, big, huge shoulders and the tapering. I mean, I'm even talking bikini girls and figure girls. I'm not talking necessarily the physique or the bodybuilding women. And people say, I want to do just like that. And this is what their workout is. And they don't realize that They're not going to get that because that is not natural. Yet there are many other people who do and can, but that's what's very misleading sometimes when you look at the magazines. And if you take things and if you take things in moderation, again, it can enhance and it can be a good thing if that's the path you want to go. But I have quite a few friends of mine for whom they started off with a little bit that turned into more, that turned into more, and I want to be bigger and I want to be better. And it turned really, really health wise and physically very bad for them. So, those are the things that you need to know before you ever even get started with anything. And one last thing, which is hilarious, I don't know if you've seen it or not, there's a picture that's circulating on Instagram and on Facebook. And this was from 2016. And it was a photo shoot that we did in Pittsburgh at the Masters Nationals. Was it 2016 or was that 2016 or something? I forget anyway. But yeah, no, it is. Yeah, because I think it says I'm 52 at the time. I'm 53. So it was 3 or 4 years ago. And so there's two guys and myself, and it was a photo shoot we did for an organization called Aging Evolution, which are for those that are 50 plus, et cetera, et cetera. It says age is just a number, and it has the ages. I think I was the 52-year-old, there's a 50-year-old guy, and a 60-year-old guy. And that's been circulating thousands and thousands of you. And what is so funny, there's a lot of, oh, yeah, wow, that's great. But there's a lot of, yeah, age is just a number and steroids are just, or this or that or the other. And I laugh and I actually take it as a compliment because I think to myself, I am very small. I am a natural athlete. And if some people confuse that with what is possible outside of the realm, then wow, they're very, misinformed. And people think that after the age of 50 or 60, you can't put on muscle without drugs. That is completely wrong, too.
I mean, I had one person when I was really in shape in college who accused me of it, and I took it as the greatest compliment I've ever received in my life. I was like, that means I'm doing something right then. That means I'm doing, I was like, yeah, you can look at my Myoplex protein that I'm taking if you want to drug test it for that. But you brought up something that's very, very interesting, how, some people, they don't even know that they're taking stuff that might have a little bit of stuff in it. Whether it comes down to the protein that they take, they just don't know. And I've seen some people that have, they've gotten tested and they realize that, hey, there is something in there. How do you think that people should, you know, be careful when it comes to that? Because I mean, even if you're just reading stuff on the label, you don't know necessarily what might have been, just a little extra something might have been added into something that you don't know of. What advice do you have for people to make sure that they maybe don't make those same mistakes, especially if they're trying to compete in natural shows?
Well, and that's where the difference is for regular people who are taking, it doesn't matter which proteins or if they're doing pre workouts or post something, that really won't matter for them because the amounts are so small that whatever their preference is, that's fine. But you bring up a good point because if you are competing and if you're competing in a natural organization where you're going to be tested and something that you didn't think at all is going to show up, that's why it's very, very important to go in. There are certain companies that are WADA approved, and those are the ones that you want to go with if specifically you're worried about that. One other thing I've seen sometimes people before a competition might have sinus infection or a cold or not feel well, and they take little things like just literally cough syrup or cough medicine, and there might be a certain something in there that is one of the banned substances, and then they test and all of a sudden they tested positive and everything they've done is down the toilet. So those, if you are competing in a natural organization, very, very, very important that you look at all the ingredients of everything that you are taking. And usually, a while beforehand, you want to stop taking anything that you think might even be suspicious. That's real important too. There are a lot of natural supplements out there. There really are.
Yeah, and I gotta say too, don't buy stuff from other countries too, because I mean, especially like if you buy, there's a lot of stuff online that's like in Russia and stuff like that, and you have no idea what's put in that stuff. So we've had some stories with that as well.